Well, this is the first round of the 1990 Ultimate Street Bike competition, and that's basically a competition for street legal motorcycles, run over 7 classes, and we run all around the country at various different venues.
First job is scrutineering, so what are the scrutineers looking for?
Just checking, make sure the bikes are safe, brakes work, everything's secure on them, helmets are legal.
And are there any other obvious things?
Just things like missing chain guard or the brakes not working right, something's hanging off. At the moment everything's been all right.
And why the motor crossing over the block?
Well, it's a requirement that they made, I think, 2 years ago. It's just minimum height of the bike from the road, that's all.
And tyre problems?
Very few problems as far as this is concerned, apart from the wear. They wear out very quickly. As you can imagine, with the rolling burnouts, they tend to get through a normal road tyre in quite a few runs. Where the machine is an extended length, the danger of the front wheel coming up can be obviously done away with if the machine is longer, and then they need to warm the tyre up to an operating temperature before they can use it. Most of the runners tend to let the tyres down quite a bit. The very quick men are running down as low as 4 psi. The majority of the shorter machines run the pressures a bit higher, around the 20, 22 psi in the rear. When they let the tyre down, there's more of the area of the tyre meets in contact with the tarmac. Therefore they get more grip, and with the power that these machines are putting out, they need all the grip they can on the start line. The start is all important. Well, as far as Pirelli are concerned, we get excellent coverage from the media that's involved with Ultimate Street Bike. And also, we are among the people who are riding the machines on the road. From Pirelli's point of view, the media do support the event very, very closely, and we do tend to get the general public who are riding the bikes at the meetings can see that Pirelli are involved in this type of competition. As far as the company are concerned, when the burnouts take place, there's a lot of money going down the drain, but that's to our good.
So, with the technicalities over with, we move back to the action on the track. The first pair we see are Ken Cooper, running with a nitrous kit this year, and Ian King with the Turbo Suzuki. This is Wayne Bradley, and that's a Spondon GSXR 1100. And the red 750 in the far lane is John Molyneux. This is Chris Richards' first run of 1990, and proves to be an expensive one. Here we have the VMAX with Sue Holmes on board, and we'll be talking to her later on. The yellow GSXR running in the nitrous class is Gary Kenley. And we talk to some of the riders who take part in Ultimate Street Bike. The first is Andy Crow.
Mainly, we just do it for the fun. It's the whole fun of the game.
A buzz! That's all you do ever get out of it, is a buzz. Might be standard, but I'm going for it anyway.
It's just good atmosphere. It's good fun.
Chris Spry, what's new about your bike for this year?
Made the frame myself. It was a new frame, wide back rim. Lots of secrets in the engine I'm not going to mention. Fiberglass bodywork. Expecting it to go a lot quicker this year.
So how do different riders approach the all-important launch? David Beck.
The best thing is just a few revs and set off steady and then get the gas as soon as you can.
That's the first time, it seems. I've had one go already. I think I'll enjoy it.
Competitive, but not quite fast enough.
Fast is never fast enough for Chris Richards. How about Sue Holmes?
Well, I just like riding my bike and I just do this for fun.
Yeah, well, a day away from the missus and all, isn't it? It's all right. Just got to get used to it now, like.
Back on the track, this is Harry Barlow with his 430 Yamaha. And he manages to run 11 zeros all day. This is Steve Cambers, and he's running in the blown class. Alongside him, Ron Russell. And Ron seems to have a problem with the nitrous kit. This is David Hurst with his 275cc Suzuki in the two-stroke twin class. And in the far lane, Andy Crow, who we were talking to earlier. The supercharged Suzuki is John McKean. This is Andy Dixon with his 1100 Kawasaki. And running alongside him once more is Harry Barlow. This awesome looking machine is Brian Emery's 1425cc turbocharged and nitrous injected Suzuki. Brian had been the #1 man last year. And now he tells us a little bit about his bike.
GSX 1100E. I've had it a 1425cc conversion put on and run turbo and nitrous oxide injection. The track's a bit slick actually, there's not quite enough grip for the bike today, but I'm doing the best I can.
So this is Brian Emery's first run of 1990, and it puts him straight back on top of the pile where he finished in 1989. Brian goes on to run 9.75 to run fastest time of the day and high terminal speed. This is Lynn Rowe and her Triumph.
I did 13.41 last week, 102 miles an hour. Why do you do it? Because I enjoy it. I got bored watching and thought I'd have a go.
This multicoloured paint job belongs to Ian Dales, and this is his first ever meeting in Ultimate Street Bike, and he gets into the 10-second bracket. There are credits to the machine to Fat Bastard Speed Shop. We asked him who the Fat Bastard was.
Well, it's a bit of a slag off for Jack Valentine, really. He's a bit chubby, so we thought we'd put it in writing rather than just call him a cert.
So now we know who Fat Jack is, but I wonder who gets the credit as being Baked Bean Brain. Now we move into the paddock and talk to some of the riders with problems. The first is Chris Richards.
Yeah, the oil pump's gone on the first run.
Very disappointing.
Put a lot of effort into getting here, yeah. It's a bit of a blow on the first run. No, that's it. It sees the cams. No, there's been no oil getting to the top end of the engine, so it's quite high technology now. The gas flow inside, the camshaft side, carburation side, it's all being developed so you can push an awful lot of power out of a normal bike engine. 200 horsepower's fairly easily obtainable, which is an incredible amount of power for such a lightweight. But it's very hard once you've got the power getting it through a street tyre on a street bike.
Well, number 4 carb was going black, so not the carb, the plug. So we've been having a look at the carb to see what we can do with that. Couldn't find anything. It seems to be choking about 7,000 revs, so I've just taken it off the line at as high revs as I possibly can, and so it won't choke up. Don't burn up the tyre and see what happens. So ran okay there. I just need to get a decent run and now hit the nitrous as well. See if I can get into the eliminations.
A still hopeful Ron Russell But how about Neil Midgley?
Just gearing it down to stop the wheel spin on the line. Just bogging that motor down a bit, trying to. I'm launching about 2,000 revs and still spinning it. So I'm just trying to hold the back tyre.
So no, back onto the track. This is one of our 4-stroke twin entries, the Harley, with Dallas Wright on board. Quite unusual to see Harleys in Ultimate Street Bike, but like everything else, they're very, very welcome. The unmistakable sound of the V-twin motor, and he's really laying it down there. Now another 4-stroke twin. This is the Triton of Bob Cornforth, 750cc, more go top end on this particular bike. And another one laying down some good 12-second quarter miles. Now what's this, illegal fuel?
Well, it's twice as wicked as nitrous oxide, but you can only use it on certain bikes, you see. You've got to be from the north.
Well, we don't have too many exhaust regulations, and we've almost, over the last 6 years or so, we've developed our own real breed of motorcycle. There's a lot of turbocharged and nitrous injected machines, a lot of very long, low motorcycles, going very quick indeed. We've now got a street bike in the 8s, and a street bike has run a terminal on a quarter mile of over 160 miles an hour. So they're going very fast indeed.
This is Steve Burns' mount for 1990. It's a 1260 GSXR Suzuki, sponsored by Motul. But where is Steve? We'll ask this chap, Bill Hunter. I hope that's nothing to do with what Steve's doing on Bill's t-shirt, the Australian shark fishing team, I understand. It looks a nice bike, Bill. Is it good?
It's not mine. I've just had a go. It's Steve Burns'. Yeah, wheel as well. It's like a motocrosser. Me? I have. What do you think? Caught it though. Impressed. Are you the new video men then? Oh yeah? This going to be on video. This is Steve Burns' anyway. Is that good enough?
And where is Steve?
She's about somewhere.
I understand they call him Empty Head.
That's right. Well, he's a bit thick, isn't he? He ain't got much brain cell in him, but lovable chap, lovable chap. This is his new toy anyway, 1260. Wheel is like a pig. Never ridden anything that wheel is like it before, and he'll not give me a go.
Here he is. Hey, get on this video.
Do we have to do this? No, I don't. Nobody's making me do this. I'm off. Catch me another time. Hey, somebody's poking one of those. Go away.
Pardon? My mate, my girlfriend, Steve, is that who you mean? You see him last night? You seen in front of his car? It's covered in sick. Diamond whites, that's the thing. Diamond whites, tell you. 15 of them, and burns his anybody's. He's a bit of a slag, but he's a lovable bloke. Anyway, I can't stop.
Can't read or write, but I can drive a tractor.
And here is Steve Burns with his new bike for 1990. 1260cc GSXR, and in the background there's David Beck with another GSXR 1100. Steve tends to keep his bikes fairly short wheelbase because he likes to wheelie up and down. In fact, he is the world wheelie speed record holder at over 150 miles an hour. So here's his first run of the day. Let's see if he can keep that front end under control. Dave Beck is also a 9-second runner and has already dipped into the 9s. So Steve Burns aviates the front wheel right the way through first and second gear and goes on to run 10.25. This Suzuki Katana is Mal Sampson and is in fact an 1100 motor in a 750. And this is the first appearance of the day from Chris Easter, the 1260 turbo and nitrous Kawasaki, another 9-second runner, but struggling to find traction here at Blyton. Nearly forgets to take the shifter pin out, and that would have given him the problem of not being able to change gear on the run. So everything sorted out, he makes his way to the line. So we've noticed Gary Kenley in Schweppes livery, What's all that about?
I've just done a job with me and Steve Burns. We done made a video for him, and we just kept the paintwork afterwards. Steve's still got his leathers, he just don't wear them. Because we didn't have a van. It's the only bit of transport we had for this weekend, so we took the horses out, we left the horses at Dub and put the bikes in. You get more horsepower in than horses.
The girl riders are faster than I thought they would be. A lot faster, yeah.
You're supposed to say it, Harry.
I'm enjoying the race in Brill. It's dead close this year. You're listening or not? It's dead close. Very close racing this year. Jeff's going extremely well, running very consistent 11.09s. I'm only a Nats so-and-so behind at 11.11. But I don't know, I think the verdict's going to go his way today, but we'll see. It's the first man to the end that wins, of course.
And the first man to the end invariably gets a good start, which is something that this GPZ 1100 isn't doing.
Sounds like a flat battery to me. Meanwhile, back on the track, this is Stu Bancroft, a runner in our all-new Open 750 class, and alongside him, Ron Russell. The 750s were a real revelation at Blyton, with no less than 3 bikes dipping straight into the 10s. Ron Russell has now sorted his problems with the nitrous kit, and this run qualifies him into the eliminations. You'll notice how well Stu Bancroft stays with Ron, considering that Ron is running a 1260 with nitrous and Stu's running 750cc. This is Jared Frost, and we owe Jared a bit of an apology because just 1 week after this shot was taken, he wins at Ramsey, and unfortunately the video crew managed to miss that run. However, here he is at Blyton and once again qualifying into the eliminations. Now another GSXR, and this time smoking the tyre is Kevin Harris. Now 2 of our 4-stroke twins. That's Dick Cheetham, who ends up in 2nd place in the class, and alongside him the 500 Honda single of Richard Summers. This is David Eccles with the nitrous class Katana, and Ken Taylor with that long, low, water-injected, blown Suzuki. Now the Delta Box Harris of Ian King, running for the first time in Ultimate Street Bike, although we saw the bike a few times last season. And this open class runner is Richard Jipp with the GS 1000S. The blue Suzuki there is David Biles, and he qualifies into the 2-stroke open eliminator on his RG 500. And this is the man that's leading the 2-stroke twin class at the moment. Jeff Marshall ran 11 zeros all day and then dipped nicely into the 10s at 10.99. And here's our man with the Fat Bastard Speed Shop bike, and that's Ian Dales. So we have the final few runs before we move into the elimination stage, and this is Mal Sampson and Roger Timmington. Now the top 16 eliminator, and our number 1 qualifier here is Brian Emery, and he races Mike Taylor in the first round. The next pair, both on GSXR 1100, is Gary Overland and David Beck. And Dave Beck just takes the win. Now Mike Tucker Thomas with his blown Suzuki, and alongside him the nitrous class Suzuki of Mark Smythe. Mike Thomas qualified at 10.05, but gets a few problems on the start line here, and Mark Smythe takes the win. This is John Bent, and he's racing Gary Westerby. Both machines blown Suzukis. And problems there for John Bent on the line, and Gary Westerby gets away. Now this is the supercharged Suzuki of John McKean, and he's racing the 1260 turbo and nitrous Kawasaki of Chris Easter. Both machines just into the 9-second bracket. And John McKean gets out of shape, and then it comes out of gear, so that's his race over. Chris Easter takes the win. Now two 1500cc machines, Neil Midgley and Ken Cooper. Ken running nitrous for the first time and running low 10s on the first outing. This is also Neil Midgley's first meeting with the ex-Tony Arnold machine. So two guys coming to grips with new setups here at Blyton. Now Gary Kenley with the nitrous Suzuki in the Schweppes livery, and he's racing Dave Turner. Just watch Gary Kenley's front wheel as he hits the nitrous button. There he goes, almost looping the bike, and in fact he shatters a throttle slide on that run. Now moving into the second round, Brian Emery takes the win there. Here we have Mark Smythe, and he's racing against the other nitrous class runner, Ron Russell. And Ronnie takes the win. So now we wait for our next pair of runners to come through. And it'll be Chris Easter and Gary Westerby. So the 1260 turbo and nitrous Kawasaki just getting a push start there. And his opponent is Gary Westerby with the turbo Katana. And some problems on the start line there, and Chris Easter takes the win. We now move into the semi-finals and bring in the other classes. This is Nigel Mason with his 4-stroke twin Triumph Bonneville, and he's racing Bill Calcutt. And Bill Calcutt takes the win. The second pair in 4-stroke twin are the Triton of Bob Cornforth and Dick Cheatham's XS650. Now 2-stroke twin. This is Stephen John, and he's racing number 1 man Jeff Marshall. And despite the better start, problems on the track, wheeling there for Steve John, and Jeff Marshall takes the win. The next pair in 2-stroke twin is Harry Barlow and Mark Edwards. All runners in 2-stroke twin Yamaha mounted, and Harry Barlow goes through to the final. Now this is Phil Clayton, and he's running in 2-stroke open with his 3-cylinder Kawasaki. In this round he races John Kuhn with the 750 Suzuki. And that's John Kuhn's race all the way through. Our next pair in 2-stroke open is the RG500 of David Biles, and he's racing Chris Spry with the 750 Kawasaki. And Chris Spry takes the win. We now move into the Open 750s, and this is Ray Warburton with his 750 Suzuki, and he's racing our #1 qualifier Stu Bancroft. Really close racing in this new 750 class. And here's Ian Dales. He's our #2 qualifier at the present time, and he's racing Phil Sherrington, another man that just dipped into the 10s. So a really close race here with bikes launching side by side, but Ian Dales takes the win. Now we move into the top 16. And Ron Russell with the Nitrous Suzuki, and he's racing #1 qualifier Brian Emery. And both these bikes struggle to find traction on the Blyton surface. But that awesome power from Brian Emery allows him to power past at the top end and make his way into the final, where he'll meet the winner of this race. This is Ken Cooper, through to the semi-finals with the 1500 Nitrous Suzuki, and he's racing the Kawasaki of Chris Easter. Once again, traction problems on the start line. And both bikes smoke the tyre, but Chris Easter is away and takes the win. Now we come to the finals, and we start with 4-stroke twin. And here we have Dick Cheetham racing Bill Calcutt. And sadly, Bill Calcutt was to lose his fight against serious illness about a week before our York meeting during 1990, and this was the only time we saw Bill in Ultimate Street Bike in 1990. And Dick Cheetham takes the elimination win. It's interesting that in all the smaller classes, the class result was reversed by the elimination result, in that the fastest man never managed to win the elimination. And this was the case in the 2-stroke twins, as #1 man Jeff Marshall faces up to Harry Barlow. Jeff Marshall qualified at 10.99, Harry qualified at